Dr. Lisa Grant stepped out of her truck at Yellowstone National Park. The morning air felt cold against her face. She had worked here for 15 years. Every day started the same way. Birds sang from the trees. Elk moved through the grass. Bears searched for food near the rivers. But today was different. No sounds came from the forest. No animals moved anywhere. The park felt dead. Lisa walked down the main trail. Her boots made the only noise. She stopped and listened. Nothing. She pulled out her radio and called the park office. "This is Lisa. Something is wrong. I can't see any animals anywhere." The voice on the radio sounded worried. "We got the same report from 3 other rangers. No animals at all." Lisa ran back to her truck. She drove to the visitor center as fast as she could. Other park workers stood outside looking scared. Bob Martinez, the head ranger, met her at the door. "It's not just us," Bob said. "Parks all over the world are calling. The animals are gone everywhere." Lisa felt sick. "What do you mean everywhere?" "Africa, Asia, Australia. Every zoo, every park, every forest. All empty." Commander Jake Miller sat in his office at Space Defense Corps headquarters. Red lights flashed on his computer screen. "Emergency." Calls came from every country on Earth. He answered the phone for the 10th time in an hour. "Sir, this is General Adams from Australia. Our entire outback is empty. No kangaroos, no birds, nothing." Jake looked at the reports on his desk. Amazon rainforest, empty. African plains, empty. Arctic tundra, empty. Every place that had wild animals was now silent. His assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, you need to see this." Jake followed her to the main screen room. Satellite images showed the Earth from space, but these images were from last night. Huge ships hung over every continent. The ships were bigger than cities. They glowed with blue light. "When did we get these?" Jake asked. 3 hours ago. But look at this." The assistant changed the image. Now it showed the same places this morning. The ships were gone. So were all the animals. Captain Amy Foster led a team of scientists to Yellowstone. They had special equipment to look for clues. Amy had solved many strange cases before, but this was different from anything she had seen. The team found the first clue near the river. A small crystal device sat on a rock. It was the size of a phone, but made of material that looked like glass and metal mixed together. Dr. Peter Chang picked up the device carefully. He was the best scientist they had for studying alien things. His hands shook as he examined it. "This is not from Earth," Peter said. "Look at how it's made. No human technology can do this." Amy looked closer. The crystal had patterns inside it that moved like living things. "What does it do?" Peter connected the device to his computer. Numbers and symbols filled the screen. "It's a scanner. It reads everything about living things. DNA, size, behavior, everything." They found more devices all over the park. Each one had been placed where animals lived. Bears, wolves, birds, fish. Every creature had been scanned before it was taken. Back at headquarters, Jake Miller got the first message from the aliens. It came through every radio, every TV, every computer on Earth at the same time. The voice sounded like wind blowing, through metal. "People of Earth, we are the Kethvar. Your world is dying because you do not care for your animals. We have taken them to safety. They will live forever in perfect homes. Do not try to follow us. You are not welcome." The message ended. Earth fell silent again. Jake called his best people to a meeting. "We need to find these aliens. We need to get our animals back." "Sir," said Colonel Mike Davis, "we don't even know where they went. Our ships can't travel that far." "Then we build ships that can," Jake said. "Whatever it takes." Dr. Helen Brooks worked in the space science lab. She studied the crystal devices that Amy's team had found. The technology was far ahead of anything humans had made. But Helen was smart. She had learned how to copy alien technology before. "I think I can track them," Helen told Jake. "These crystals leave a trail in space, like footprints. If we build the right equipment, we can follow them." Jake nodded. "How long?" 6 months, maybe less if we work fast." All over Earth, people were angry. Children cried because their pets were gone. Farmers had no animals to care for. Zoos stood empty. The world felt broken, but humans don't give up easily. In every country, the best people started working together. Engineers built new ships. Scientists studied alien technology. Soldiers trained for space battles. Lisa Grant left Yellowstone and joined the mission. She knew animals better than almost anyone. If they were going to find Earth's creatures, they would need people who understood them. Those aliens think they saved our animals, Lisa said at the first meeting. But animals need more than just safe places. They need to be free. They need to be home. Jake looked at the group of people who had volunteered to go into space. Park rangers, scientists, soldiers, and animal doctors. They all had one thing in common. They loved Earth's creatures and would do anything to bring them back. The HFY made a mistake, Jake said. They think we don't care about our animals. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Outside, the sun set over an empty world, but inside the Space Center, humans worked through the night. They had a promise to keep. Every animal taken from Earth would come home. 6 months after the animals disappeared, Captain Sam Rodriguez stood on the bridge of Earth's newest ship. The Retribution was bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Dr. Helen Brooks had used alien technology to make it fast enough to travel between stars. Sam looked at his crew. Major Kate Williams knew how to fight battles in space. Dr. Ben Parker had spent 20 years tracking animals in forests and mountains. Tech specialist Alex Turner understood alien computers better than anyone else on Earth. "Are we ready?" Sam asked. Kate checked her weapons systems. "All guns loaded and ready, Captain." Ben looked at his animal tracking equipment. "If our creatures are out there, I'll find them." Alex studied the screens showing space around them. "The alien trail is still clear. I can follow it." Sam nodded. "Take us out." The Retribution left Earth's gravity and flew toward the stars. Behind them, 40 more ships followed. Each ship carried people who loved animals. Park rangers from America, wildlife doctors from Africa, indigenous hunters from Australia. All of them wanted to bring Earth's creatures home. 3 weeks later, they found what they were looking for. Alex pointed at his screen. "Captain, you need to see this." A massive ship floated in space near a distant star. It was so big that Earth could fit inside it 10 times. Gardens and forests covered its surface. Rivers of water flowed between artificial mountains. It looked like a whole world had been built inside a ship. "That's it," Ben said. "That's where our animals are." Sam opened communications with the alien ship. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Earth ship Retribution. We want our animals back." The answer came quickly. A tall alien appeared on the screen. His skin was gray like stone. His eyes were completely black. He spoke in the same wind-like voice they had heard on Earth. "I am Primarch Vextalon of the HFY. You should not have come here. Your animals are safe now. They do not need you anymore." "They're not your animals," Sam said. "They belong on Earth." Vextalon looked angry. "Earth is dying. You humans destroy everything you touch. We have saved these creatures from your violence. Let us see them," Kate said, stepping forward. "Prove they're better off with you." Vextalon thought for a moment. "Very well. Send a small group, but only to observe. You will see that we care for them better than you ever did." Sam chose 6 people for the mission. Kate would lead them. Ben would look at how the animals were living. Dr. Sue Morgan, an animal behavior expert, would check if the creatures were happy. 3 others would help them explore. They took a small ship to the alien vessel. The HFY ship was amazing. Inside, perfect forests stretched for miles. Artificial rivers ran clean and clear. The temperature was always perfect. No storms, no cold, no danger. But something was wrong. Ben noticed it first. "These animals don't act right," he told Kate, through his radio. "Look at those wolves." The wolves stood in a perfect forest clearing. They had plenty of food and water, but they didn't move like real wolves. They looked tired and sad. Sue watched a group of elephants. "They're separated from their families," she said. "See how they keep calling out? They're looking for their children and parents. Kate's team moved deeper into the ship. They found lions that wouldn't hunt, birds that barely sang. Even the fish in the rivers moved slowly, like they had given up hope. In the Arctic section, polar bears sat on perfect ice. But the ice never changed. It never melted or moved. The bears looked confused and bored. Dr. Helen Brooks watched everything from the Retribution. She was learning about the HFY ship through her computers. Sam, this is incredible. They have animals from hundreds of different worlds on that ship. What do you mean? Sam asked. I'm seeing creatures I've never imagined. But they all look sick. The HFY have been collecting animals for thousands of years, but they don't know how to really take care of them. Meanwhile, Kate's team made another discovery. In a hidden section of the ship, they found HFY scientists studying the animals. The aliens took notes on everything the creatures did, but they never touched them or played with them. They just watched. They think animals are like machines, Ben said. Give them food and water and they should be happy. They don't understand that animals need love and freedom. Sue found the saddest sight of all. A group of dolphins swam in a perfect pool. The water was clean and the right temperature. But the dolphins just floated at the bottom. They barely moved. Dolphins are smart, Sue explained to the others. They need to play and explore and be with their families. This place is like a prison to them. Kate decided to try something. She sat by the pool and called to the dolphins the way she used to when she visited aquariums on Earth. Slowly, one dolphin swam up to her. When it heard her human voice, it became excited. It jumped and made happy clicking sounds. Soon all the dolphins came to Kate. They remembered humans. They wanted to go home. The same thing happened everywhere Kate's team went. Earth's animals recognized human voices and smells. They became excited when they saw people. Even animals that were usually afraid of humans came close to them. Vex Talan watched this through his cameras. He couldn't understand why the animals acted differently around humans. Your presence disturbs them, he told Kate when she returned to his command center. They were calm before you arrived. They weren't calm, Kate said. They were giving up. Our animals need more than just food and safety. They need to feel free. Freedom is chaos, Vex Talon replied. Here they have order, perfect order. Kate looked at the alien leader. For the first time, she felt sorry for him. Don't you understand? Perfect isn't always better. Our animals need to feel alive, not just be alive. Back on the Retribution, Sam gathered his crew leaders. What did you learn? Kate told him everything. The animals are dying inside, not their bodies, but their spirits. The HFY don't understand that animals need more than perfect cages. Ben agreed. Every creature on that ship wants to go home. I could see it in their eyes. Sam made his decision. Then we bring them home, all of them. How? Alex asked. That ship has weapons that could destroy our whole fleet. Sam smiled. We don't fight their technology. We use something they don't. Have come. What's that? Kate asked. Love, Sam said. Our animals know us. They trust us. That's our weapon. Dr. Helen Brooks had been listening. I have an idea, she said. But it's dangerous. Tell us, Sam said. We infiltrate their ship. Not to fight, but to free the animals from the inside. If the creatures want to come home, maybe they'll help us. Sam looked at his crew. They all nodded. Send a message to all ships, Sam ordered. We're going in. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Clark studied the maps of the HFY ship. He had to find a way to get his people inside without starting a war. The alien ship was too big and too strong for a direct attack. We can't fight them, Ryan told the other commanders. But we can outsmart them. The plan was simple but dangerous. Small teams would sneak into different parts of the alien ship. Each team would go to places where Earth's animals lived. Instead of fighting the HFY, they would work with the animals to escape. The HFY think animals are simple, Ryan explained. They don't know that our creatures are smart and loyal. If we can reach them, they'll help us. Dr. Sue Morgan volunteered to lead the first team into the Amazon section. She had worked with jungle animals for years. She knew how to move quietly through forests and how to talk to creatures without words. Sue's team used small ships to land on the outer edge of the alien vessel. They cut through the metal hull with tools that made no sound. Inside, they found a perfect copy of the Amazon rainforest. Trees reached high above them. Vines hung down like curtains. The air was warm and wet just like the real Amazon, but something felt wrong. "It's too quiet," whispered Tom Baker, one of Sue's team members. "A real jungle makes noise all the time." Sue nodded. She made a soft bird call that she had learned in the Amazon. Nothing answered. She tried again with a different sound. Still nothing. Then she heard it. A quiet rustling in the trees above. A monkey looked down at them. When it saw Sue's face, it became excited. It chattered and jumped from branch to branch. Soon more monkeys came. They had remembered human voices. Sue made gentle clicking sounds with her tongue. The monkeys climbed down and sat near her. "They look thin," Tom said, "and scared." Sue examined the monkeys carefully. They had food and water, but they were not healthy. "They're lonely," she realized. "Monkeys live in big families. The HFY have separated them into small groups." Sue's team moved deeper into the forest section. They found jaguars sitting alone in perfect clearings, colorful birds that barely flew, snakes that had no energy to hunt. All the animals were alive, but none of them seemed happy. Meanwhile, Sergeant Dan Cooper led his team into the African Plains section. Dan had grown up on a farm in Texas. He understood how animals thought and felt. The artificial African savanna stretched for miles. Grass grew perfectly green. Artificial rivers ran in straight lines. But the elephants that should have been walking across the plains just stood in one place. Dan approached a group of elephants slowly. He had worked with elephants at a zoo before. He knew they were smart and had good memories. "Easy, girl," Dan said softly to the largest elephant. "Remember me? I'm a friend." The elephant lifted her head. She looked at Dan with intelligent eyes. Slowly, she reached out with her trunk and touched his hand. Suddenly, the elephant became excited. She trumpeted loudly, calling to the other elephants. They all came running. They surrounded Dan's team, but not to hurt them. They wanted to be close to humans again. "Look at this," said Carol White, one of Dan's team members. She pointed to the elephants' feet. "They're worn down from pacing. These elephants have been walking in circles for months." Dan understood. "They're trying to migrate. Elephants travel hundreds of miles every year. But there's nowhere to go on this ship." The elephants followed Dan's team as they explored. They found lions that wouldn't roar, giraffes that barely moved, zebras that stood close together like they were afraid. In another part of the ship, Communications Officer Nina Hayes discovered something amazing. She had come to the section where the HFY kept animals from other worlds. Strange creatures lived here. Some looked like giant butterflies with 6 wings. Others were like bears, but with blue fur and 3 eyes. Nina had never seen anything like them. But when she spoke to them in a gentle voice, they responded. These alien animals were also unhappy. They wanted to go home too. "The HFY have been stealing animals from everywhere," Nina reported back to the Retribution. "Not just Earth. They've been collecting creatures for thousands of years." Nina tried to communicate with the alien animals. She couldn't speak their languages, but she could show them kindness. She sat quietly and let them come to her. A creature that looked like a flying horse with crystal wings landed near her. It made soft musical sounds. Nina hummed back to it. The creature seemed pleased. "They're all prisoners here," Nina realized. "Just like our animals." Back in the Amazon section, Sue Morgan made an important discovery. She found a control room hidden behind fake trees. HFY scientists worked at computers, watching every animal through hidden cameras. Sue watched them work. The aliens took notes about everything the animals did, how much they ate, how much they slept, how often they moved, but they never tried to make the animals happy. One HFY scientist noticed that the monkeys were acting excited. He made notes but didn't care why they were happy. To him, animals were just things to study. Sue realized that the Kethvar didn't understand love. They could copy Earth's forests perfectly, but they couldn't copy the feelings that made animals want to live. In the Arctic section, marine biologist Tim Adams found the saddest sight yet. Polar bears sat on artificial ice that never changed. The ice was perfect, always the right thickness, always the right temperature. But it was boring. Real polar bears spent their lives hunting and exploring. They traveled across miles of changing ice. They raised their cubs in dens they dug themselves. These bears had everything they needed to survive, but nothing they needed to feel alive. Tim tried an experiment. He broke a hole in the perfect ice. Immediately, the bears became interested. They came to investigate the change. For the first time, they seemed alert and curious. They need things to be imperfect, Tim told his team. They need challenges and changes. This perfect place is killing their spirits. All around the ship, human teams were learning the same thing. The Kethvar had built perfect prisons. They had given the animals everything except the one thing they needed most, the right to be wild. But as the humans worked with the animals, something unexpected began to happen. The ship's computer systems started having problems. The Kethvar had programmed their ship to keep everything perfectly controlled. But Earth's animals were becoming active again. They were making noise and moving around. The ship's computers couldn't handle the chaos. Primarch Vex Talon noticed the problems from his command center. Animals were acting strangely all over his ship. His perfect systems were breaking down. Find the source of this disturbance, he ordered his scientists. But his scientists couldn't explain what was happening. They didn't understand that animals needed more than food and shelter. They needed freedom, family, and the chance to be wild. Sam Rodriguez watched everything from the retribution. His people were inside the alien ship and the plan was working. But he knew the hard part was just beginning. Get ready, he told his crew. When those animals decide they want to come home, things are going to get very interesting. Marine biologist Tim Adams made a discovery that changed everything. While studying the Arctic section of the alien ship, he found something the Kethvar didn't want anyone to see. Hidden behind the artificial ice caves were machines that kept the fake environment running. But the machines were breaking down. The perfect ice was starting to crack. The artificial snow was turning gray. The whole ship is falling apart, Tim told the other team leaders through his radio. These environments can't sustain themselves. Dr. Joe Bennett, who was exploring another section, confirmed what Tim had found. It's the same everywhere, Joe said. The Kethvar built beautiful copies of our world, but they don't work like the real thing. Joe had discovered something important in the forest sections. Real forests have thousands of tiny creatures that most people never see. Bacteria in the soil, small insects, microscopic life that keeps everything healthy. The Kethvar had copied the big animals and the pretty trees, but they had missed all the small, important life. Without these tiny creatures, the artificial environments were slowly dying. That's why our animals are getting sick, Joe explained to Sam Rodriguez. The Kethvar don't understand that everything in nature is connected. Chief Petty Officer Jenna Scott was leading the rescue in the Arctic section when she made another important discovery. The polar bears weren't just sad, they were helping each other escape. Jenna watched as the biggest male bear pushed against a weak spot in the ice wall. Other bears joined him. Together, they were breaking out of their artificial home. These bears are smarter than the Kethvar thought, Jenna reported. They're working together to get free. The same thing was happening all over the ship. In the ocean sections, whales were singing together in patterns that confused the alien sensors. The song vibrations were shaking the ship's walls. In the jungle areas, monkeys were working in teams to break the hidden cameras. They seemed to know exactly where the Kethvar were watching them from. Even the birds were helping. Flocks of Earths. Birds flew in formation, creating air currents that disrupted the ship's flight systems. Dr. Ellen White, monitoring everything from Earth's fleet, realized what was happening. The animals are fighting back, she told Sam. But they're not fighting like the Kethvar expected. They're using their natural behaviors as weapons. Primarch Vex Talon was getting desperate. His perfect ship was falling into chaos. Every system was breaking down. His scientists couldn't explain why. The Earth creatures are diseased, one scientist told him. They carry some kind of madness that spreads to the other animals. But Vex Talon was starting to understand the truth. He had stolen these animals to save them, but he was killing them instead, and now they were destroying his ship from the inside. In the command center, Vex Talon spoke to his fellow Kethvar. "Perhaps we made an error," he said quietly. "Impossible," replied his second-in-command. "Our methods are perfect. We have preserved life from 1,000 worlds." Vex Talon looked at the screens showing his ship. Animals ran wild through broken environments. His perfect systems sparked and failed. But are they truly alive? Meanwhile, Jenna Scott's team had freed most of the Arctic animals. Polar bears, seals and Arctic foxes followed the humans toward the ship's outer walls. The animals seemed to know that the humans had come to take them home. But freeing the animals was only half the battle. They still had to get them off the alien ship and back to Earth. "We need the ship's transport systems," Jenna told Sam through her radio. "But the Kethvar control everything." Sam had an idea. "What if we don't take control of their systems? What if we let the animals do it?" Dr. Sue Morgan understood immediately. "The ship's computers are designed to manage animals, but what if the animals start managing the ship?" In the jungle section, Sue began teaching the monkeys how to use the Kethvar control panels. Monkeys were naturally curious and good with their hands. They learned quickly. Soon monkeys were pressing buttons and changing settings all over the ship. They didn't know what the buttons did, but they were making the Kethvar systems go crazy. Dan Cooper tried the same thing with the elephants. These giant animals were incredibly smart. Dan showed them how to use their trunks to operate the alien machines. The elephants understood that the machines were keeping them prisoner. They began destroying the control systems methodically, like they were solving a puzzle. Throughout the ship, Earth's animals were taking control. Dolphins used their intelligence to hack into computer systems through water-based controls. Birds pecked at critical wires. Even insects swarmed over important electronics. The Kethvar had never faced anything like this. Their technology was designed to control obedient creatures, not intelligent animals that fought back. "Shut down all animal sections," Vex Talon ordered in panic. But it was too late. The animals had learned how the ship worked. They were using the Kethvar's own systems against them. Tim Adams discovered the most shocking truth of all. While exploring the ship's central core, he found the Kethvar's living quarters. The aliens lived in small gray rooms with no decorations, no plants, no life. "They're dying," Tim realized. "The Kethvar are a dying species." Tim learned that the Kethvar had destroyed their own world long ago. They had focused so much on perfection and control that they had forgotten how to live naturally. Now they existed only on ships, collecting life from other worlds because they couldn't create it themselves. "That's why they don't understand our animals," Tim explained to the others. "They've forgotten what it means to be alive." The alien ship shuddered as more systems failed. In the command center, Vex Talon watched his life's work collapse. Thousands of years of collecting animals from across the galaxy, and it was all falling apart. But something else was happening too. For the first time in centuries, the Kethvar ship was filled with the sounds of real life. Animals called to each other across the sections. They played and fought and explored. It was chaotic and messy and imperfect, and somehow, it was beautiful. Young Kethvar scientists who had never seen such chaos found themselves fascinated. One young alien named Zektal stood watching the elephants work together to free their family groups. They coordinate without technology. Zektal observed in wonder. They care for each other without programming. For the first time, some of the Kethvar began to understand what they had been missing. They had spent so long trying to preserve life that they had forgotten what life actually was. As the ship's systems continued to fail, Vex Talon made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He opened a communication channel to Sam Rodriguez. "Captain Rodriguez," Vex Talon said, his voice tired and sad. "I believe we need to talk." Sam looked at his crew. After months of planning and fighting, the Kethvar leader was ready to negotiate. I'm listening, Sam replied. Your animals, Vex Talon said slowly. They are teaching us something we had forgotten. Perhaps it is time we learned how to live again. Captain Sam Rodriguez walked through the corridors of the HFY ship toward the meeting with Primarch Vex Talon. The alien vessel was in chaos. Animals roamed freely through broken environments. HFY scientists ran around trying to fix their failing systems. But something else was happening too. For the first time, Sam saw HFY actually touching the animals. Young alien scientists sat quietly near groups of monkeys, watching them play. Others stood amazed as elephants worked together to solve problems. Sam found Vex Talon in the ship's central garden. The alien leader sat on a bench looking older and more tired than before. A small earth squirrel sat near his feet, eating nuts from his hand. I have lived for 800 of your years, Vex Talon said without looking up. I have collected life from 1,000 worlds, but I never understood what life really was until today. Sam sat down across from him. What do you mean? Vex Talon pointed to the squirrel. This creature trusts me enough to take food from my hand, not because I programmed it to, but because it chose to. I had forgotten that life is about choice. Our animals aren't happy here, Sam said gently. They want to go home? Yes, Vex Talon agreed. But the question is larger than that. We HFY have been taking animals for thousands of years. We thought we were saving them, but we were only collecting them like objects. Sam looked around the garden. HFY scientists were everywhere, watching Earth's animals with wonder. They were learning things they had never known before. Maybe we can teach each other, Sam suggested. Dr. Ellen White had an idea that could help everyone. She had been studying both human and HFY technology during the crisis. Now she proposed something that had never been tried before. What if we work together? Ellen suggested during the peace talks. The HFY have amazing technology for creating environments. We humans understand how to make animals happy. Together we could build real sanctuaries. Vex Talon was interested. You would help us learn? If you help our animals go home first, Sam replied. The agreement they reached was bigger than anyone had expected. The HFY would return all of Earth's animals immediately. In exchange, human experts would teach them how to create living environments instead of sterile preserves. But the agreement included something else too. The HFY had animals from hundreds of other worlds on their ship. Many of those worlds had been destroyed. The creatures had nowhere to go home to. We'll help you build real homes for them, Sam promised. Places where they can be wild and free. Dr. Joe Bennett led the effort to prepare Earth's animals for the journey home. It was a massive job. Millions of creatures had to be organized and transported safely. But the animals seemed to know they were going home. They cooperated in ways that amazed both humans and HFY. Elephants helped load smaller animals. Dolphins organized the sea creatures. Even predators and prey worked together peacefully. They understand, Joe told Sam. They know we're taking them back to Earth. The journey home took 3 weeks. A fleet of both human and HFY ships carried the animals through space. The HFY had redesigned their transport systems to be more comfortable and natural. Young HFY scientists traveled with the animals, learning from human experts. Dr. Sue Morgan taught them how to read animal behavior. Tim Adams showed them how different species needed different environments. Animals aren't just bodies that need food and water, Sue explained to a group of fascinated HFY. They have feelings and thoughts and social needs. But how do you measure feelings? Asked Zektal, the young HFY scientist. Sue smiled. You don't measure them, you watch for them. You learn to recognize when an animal is happy or sad or afraid. This was a completely new concept for the HFY. They had always relied on measurements and data. The idea that some things couldn't be quantified was revolutionary to them. Meanwhile, on Earth, people prepared for the greatest homecoming in history. Every zoo, park, and wildlife preserve got ready to receive their animals back. Dr. Lisa Grant returned to Yellowstone National Park. She had been away for almost a year, working with the space mission. Now she stood in the same spot where she had first discovered the animals were gone. But this time she wasn't alone. Thousands of people had come to watch the animals return. News crews, scientists, families with children, and indigenous peoples, whose cultures were tied to the wildlife. The first ship landed in Yellowstone just as the sun was rising. The cargo doors opened and Earth's creatures came home. Wolves bounded out first, immediately sniffing the familiar air. They howled with joy, and the sound echoed across the mountains for the first time in months. Bears emerged slowly, testing the ground with their paws. When they realized they were truly home, they began exploring with obvious excitement. Birds burst from the ships in great flocks, filling the sky with wings and songs. They had been quiet for so long on the alien ship. Now they celebrated their freedom with music. Lisa watched through tears as a family of elk walked cautiously out of the transport ship. The mother elk looked around carefully, then led her calves toward the forest. They were home. Similar scenes played out all over Earth. In Africa, elephants trumpeted as they walked back onto the savanna. In the Amazon, monkeys swung through, real trees for the first time in months. In the oceans, whales sang songs of celebration, but the work wasn't finished. Sam Rodriguez and his team still had promises to keep. The HFY ship became a mobile conservation center. Human and alien scientists worked together to build proper homes for the creatures from destroyed worlds. They created a living planet, not artificial like the old HFY ship, but a real world with changing seasons, natural weather, and wild spaces where animals could be free. Dr. Ellen White led the project to restore the HFY homeworld. Using both human knowledge and alien technology, they brought life back to a planet that had been dead for centuries. "We're not just saving animals," Ellen explained to the mixed human and HFY team. "We're saving the idea of wildness itself." The HFY learned quickly. They had always been intelligent, but they had forgotten wisdom. Working with humans and animals taught them things their technology never could. Vex Talon became one of the best students. He spent hours watching animals, learning to understand their needs without measuring devices. "I thought order was better than chaos," he told Sam during one of their conversations. "But I was wrong. Life needs a little chaos to truly live." A year after the Great Homecoming, Earth was wilder than it had ever been. The animals that returned were different somehow. They had survived something terrible and come home stronger. Children who had grown up during the quiet months when Earth had no wildlife now grew up in a world that was full of life again. They understood how precious wild things were. The partnership between humans and HFY continued. Together they created sanctuaries throughout the galaxy, not preserves where animals were kept like museum pieces, but wild places where life could flourish and grow. Sam Rodriguez stood once again in Yellowstone, watching wolves play in the snow. Beside him, Vex Talon observed the pack with the patience he had learned from human teachers. "They are teaching their cubs to hunt," Vex Talon noted. "But they are also teaching them to play." "That's the secret," Sam replied. "Life isn't just about surviving. It's about living with joy." A young wolf pup bounded through the snow, chasing its own tail. Its play served no practical purpose, but it was beautiful to watch. Both men smiled. One was an alien who had learned to value wildness. The other was a human who had fought across the galaxy to bring his world's creatures home. Above them, eagles soared through mountain air. In the distance, elk moved through ancient forests. The world was alive again, and it was wild and free and perfect in its imperfection. Earth's greatest theft had become its greatest gift. Humanity had learned how much they loved their wild companions. The HFY had learned what it meant to truly live. And in sanctuaries across the galaxy, millions of creatures lived free under alien suns, tended by beings who had learned that the greatest act of love is not possession, but freedom.